Thanks everyone for joining us today. We are going to talk about Reveal. We're going to talk about App Builder. If you are interested in embedded BI, this is a perfect webinar for you. If you're interested in just overall app development, maybe even just how you're approaching digital transformation, I think you'll get a lot out of today's webinar. Infragistics has been in business for over 30 years, helping development teams be more productive with tooling. And that's really what we're trying to demonstrate in today's webinar, is how two of our products can work really well together to help you accelerate your app development. So with me today is not Casey. She's actually unavailable for today's meeting, but Brian Lagunas is joining us. Brian Lagunas is the product owner for Reveal. He's the product owner for all of our developer tools, our charts, and all of our web stuff. He works with the guys in Sofia and our dev team in Montevideo, Uruguay, here in the United States, and customers all over the globe to make sure that we are delivering solutions that you guys need. And so he's on the chat line today, and I'm pretty excited that he's here because he is involved in all of these products very intimately. And my name is Jason Barris. I'm a Senior VP of Dev Tools here at Infragistics. So today's agenda, it's all demo. This is the intro slide. Then I'm just going to go right into showing you how all of this works together. So you'll see firsthand how to improve your design developer handoffs, the value of a low code solution that spits out pixel perfect code versus just code snippets, how embedded analytics drives more revenue streams into your applications, and more importantly, how you can build applications 10 times faster. If you don't walk away from today's webinar completely blown away, I don't know, we got to check your pulse, because this is exciting stuff on just how quickly you can get something very beautiful. Now, I've done in the previous Reveal webinars a bunch of demos, but I usually just show like one HTML page showing dashboards. Today, you're going to see something a little bit more interesting and a little cooler, and probably more in line with what you're building anyway. A little housekeeping: recording and slides will be available after the webinar. We'll send up a follow-up email, and please ask questions in the Q&A and in the chat. And Brian will be on there as well to answer all your questions. So with that, let's get right into a demo. A few things that I want to show you right off the bat. And, you know, we can paste all of these links right into the chat here. So I'll say to everyone, so this is an amazing GitHub repo that really shows you how easy it is to get Reveal embedded in your application. Brian spearheaded the rewriting of all of our documentation over the last 12 months and rewriting a bunch of samples to be much simpler, much more straightforward on how you want to do your work. So for example, when you think about Reveal and branding to make something look like your brand, take a look at the theming dashboard sample, look at the client, look at index.html. You can see how to apply the themes that we ship. So we ship default themes, or how to create your own custom themes. And that's it. It's super simple, super basic. Anyone can follow along. You're going to see some of this in my demo today, but I want to highlight that everything that you are going to see today is available on GitHub already. There's nothing new that's happening here. All you got to do is look for it. And if you can't find it, let us know. The other key important element here is Reveal code snippets. I'm going to not handwrite all the code today because it's painful to watch someone type on webinars. I'm going to, I think, write like 2 words, but everything I'm doing is available in these code snippets that I've added to this repo. So please go ahead and grab these code snippets, add them to Visual Studio Code. I'll show you how to do that. And then you can just do exactly what I'm doing here. Then if you're not familiar with Reveal, go to revealbi.io. Revealbi.io is our homepage for Reveal. It gives you all the information that you need on what Reveal is, how to acquire the SDK, how to get help, and all that good stuff. So revealbi.io is another critical website for you to take a look at. And then finally, for App Builder, you want to go to infragistics.com, design and development, go right into App Builder. And from here, you can click sign in or try App Builder, and you just kind of log in with your Google ID, your Microsoft ID. It doesn't really matter, but you will get access to App Builder. The cool thing about today's demo is we've created this so you don't have to actually install a single thing on your computer. Everything can be done through the web, through NuGet packages, or through our CDN. So there's no like, oh gosh, I'm not allowed to install stuff. Don't even worry about it. And then lastly, before I get into my demo, there is another website that you need to care about, and it's called excel2json.io. What is excel2json.io? Excel2json.io is an application, a SaaS-based app, which allows you to upload CSV or Excel files, convert them to JSON, and then use them as live data from the cloud. So a lot of times when you're building applications, you're like, I wish I had somewhere to put my data in the cloud, or I have this in an Excel file. How can I use it in insert name of tool? Well, I'm going to show you today how you can consume cloud-based data in the App Builder and how we're going to use that to load up Reveal dashboard. So excel2json.io is super important. And Brian, again, he's the resident guru here. He actually built this product with Andy, our designer, lead design on App Builder. And what I've done is I've uploaded the data that we're going to use to bind to our dashboards today. So you can see here, there's a few fields, and this is all JSON in the cloud. And the neat thing here is if I just grab any URL, I can copy it. I will paste this right in here, and voila, there's JSON that's coming from the cloud, and life is good. So let's get started on building our first ever App Builder with Reveal Embedded BI application. So to start, you want to click that login or try App Builder on the Infragistics.com App Builder website. And then you're prompted with the App Builder homepage. This is sort of like the workbench where all of your apps would be. We've got some getting started help. And this is what it will look like if you have nothing. On the left-hand side, I've got some different workspaces where I'm working with other people. And you can see here, Excel2JSON. This was actually all designed and built using App Builder, the product that you just saw. So you can see every aspect of the UI was built. And the neat thing about App Builder and why this will help you accelerate your digital transformation is that you get real code. So this generates Angular code, Blazor server code, or Blazor WebAssembly code. React and web components are on the way later this year, early Q1 2023. So that's really the value here. Is certainly, you could cobble together some stuff and, kind of make an app look good. Well, this is a WYSIWYG drag and drop to actually build out applications. So let me go back to my projects. I'm going to do a new application. There's a few things you can do here to get started. You can use an empty template, which we've kind of went through and determined based on thousands of applications that these are the most common layouts that you would need for a line of business app. You could import your designs from Adobe XD or Sketch. So if you have a design team, everything that we do here with App Builder and our UI components have UI kits. So those UI kits are used in Sketch, Adobe XD, Figma. You can take those, stick them right into App Builder, and we generate the screens for you. Well, today what we're going to do is use one of our sample apps as a starting point. I'm going to use the team collaboration app. So here I'm going to click Try Sample. And what this does is it brings me into the IDE. App Builder helps you build single page applications, like I said, for Angular or Blazor. So here I've got a master page, and you can see like this is a little bit grayed out because that's where I want to stick my content. That's basically my content view, which are my other pages that I'm going to load based on user interaction. So what I want to do for this particular application is when I run it. So for example, let's go ahead and click preview. And this is a live preview. You can see all the code that's going on here. When I click the dashboard button, I want to click a dashboard, and then I want to load this from using the Reveal SDK. So I need to do a couple things. I need to create a new screen to view the dashboard, and I need to make these items in this card view map to what I have stored in the cloud through data binding. So let's go back here. I'm going to go to edit mode. So I'm going to start by clicking the master view up here and saying add a child view. I'm going to call this dashboard viewer. And so that's going to be my dashboard viewer. And then on my dashboard screen, what I want to do is these guys here, I want to, when they're clicked, I want them to go to the dashboard viewer. The way we do that in App Builder is through an interactions option. So I'm going to click down here. I'm going to pick a view and I want to go to the dashboard viewer. So whenever someone clicks on that, take me to the dashboard view. So if I preview this and I click this, there I am. There's my dashboard view. Another nice little thing here is you can see how this might look on different size screens all the way down to mobile. And then the other nice little picker here is I can just jump between screens if I don't want to always start with where I was in the editor. So now once I'm in this edit view, what I want to do is obviously show a dashboard. We're going to do that in Visual Studio Code, but I want to go back, once I'm kind of done viewing this dashboard. So let's go back to edit view. Another nice feature of App Builder is we've added a bunch of pre-built screen layouts that will help you kind of, lay out your screen. So, master detail views and all these things. And you think about the apps that you use or that you've built, they all have like very common layout patterns. So I'm going to use this 2-row pattern. I'm going to click done on that guy. And I'm going to drag this up a little bit like so. At the same time, I could change heights and widths using the tool over here. I'm not going to do any of that. But what I want to do is stick a button in here, which is going to tell it to go back to the other screen. So let's go ahead to the toolbox, find a button, and I'm going to drag this button onto my screen. So I've got a little bit more room there. We can lift that up a little bit. For the content, I'm going to say go back. And I want this to also have an icon. So I'm going to click the little drop down here. We got all these cool icons. I'm going to search for something that's like a go back sort of thing. And that looks pretty cool. Well, I don't know. That's a little aggressive, maybe. Let's just do an arrow. And now you notice that stretched the whole width of the layout. So if we go over to the DOM view, we'll see that this is a column layout. What I really want to do here is change this guy to a row layout like so, and it already is set to shrink, and I really don't want it to grow. So you could set all your CSS properties here. And then in this little area, I want to stick my dashboard view. So what you can do, instead of going to the toolbox, you can do Control E, and then you can search for any control that you want to stick in. I'm going to stick in a text box, and this is just for like a placeholder. I'm going to say stick dashboard here. Whoops. Like so. So now I got that. Now, how do I go back? Well, you guessed it. I go down to interactions. I click this guy, pick a view. I want to go back to my dashboard screen. So if I preview this, go back, click, go back. So now you see things are starting to come together. Now what I need to do is bind this card view with that data from the cloud. So all of the controls, or not all, but for the most part, all the controls have a repeater mode. So either it's data bound or not. So I'm going to delete these two guys because this was all done like manually. And I'm going to tell this guy to be data bound. Now, how do I add data? Over on the left-hand side, you've got a data tab. Now in the data tab, I have a ton of data sources already, but just real quick, this tool supports OData, and JSON data sets, and also cool things like Web API with Swagger and local host support. So if you have all this running on your local machine, it'll work as well. And what you do is you just click plus, REST API, you kind of follow the wizard and you go through the steps. I already did all this. I'm not going to do any more. If you want to learn how to do that, check it out on YouTube. We got videos on how to do data binding. Now, very similar, what I want to do here is this guy is a row layout, but I want to make him a column layout. So my kind of scroll bar works correctly and these lay out in the right order. Now, this is a card view. A card view has different view options. So there's a social type of card view. There's a media column, an actions column. So you can see based on how I select this guy, it's going to look a little bit different. I want to do social because it's kind of big and cool. And now I want to bind from that data set here that I added already. I want to bind the correct fields here. So I am going to go to the data picker, and I already have the reveal dashboards list added. So I'm going to add my reveal dashboards list. Now that is sort of activated, connected to this control. I'm going to tell it to show me all of the data points from that data set. And I'm going to start binding fields to this. So here I'm going to bind title to title. So you can see there, I've got campaigns, marketing, social media, subtitle. Let's do added by, or actually, no, let's do date added. That's always useful to know when you're looking at dashboards. Down here for the image URL, that's part of my data set. So I'm going to change this to thumb URL, and you can kind of see all this coming together. This is live data from the cloud, and it's all just kind of working. So it's actually pretty slick. And then the way the card works is there's components inside the card. So I'm going to select this avatar, and I'm going to say use an image, and I want to bind that image to my added by image URL. How beautiful is this? So let's go ahead to the preview screen, and let's click on one of these guys. We're going to our dashboard view. We click go back. I'm going to go home, dashboards. I can scroll to the right, and this is all live data. So now what I have is each one of these dashboards is actually in the cloud already, and I have them locally, and we'll talk about how that all works in a minute. But with Reveal, you've got a client piece and a server piece. The server piece is up in the cloud, and that's where your dashboards are, and that's where you might have some special code for logins and other things to proprietary systems. The client piece is really just rendering whatever dashboard you tell it to render. So now that's what we're going to go add in Visual Studio Code. So how do we do that? So in the app builder, what you have is the ability to select the type of platform that you're targeting. And like I said, soon you will see React and web components here. And we just added Blazor server this week. So up until now, we were just doing Blazor WebAssembly. And we've had Angular since we released last year. But I want to publish this to GitHub. And I'm going to call this Team Dashboard Webinar. And that's the name that will go over to GitHub as well. So I'm going to copy that. Let's publish to GitHub. And what do I want to name my repository? Team Dashboard Webinar. We can select the repository, do an existing repository, make it public or private. If this is the first time you're doing this, you're going to be asked to log into GitHub. So it's all synchronized. Now let's create my repository. And this takes a second. And now I'm going to click publish. And so now all this code in the cloud is generated, and it's publishing a repo in GitHub. So let's click our repo in GitHub. And look at this. It's all here. Beautiful. So what I want to do now is I'm not going to do really anything in GitHub. We got to do everything in Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to go down to code, and I'm going to copy this Git repo. And let's go ahead and open up Visual Studio Code. So here I am in code. And what I want to do is a Command or Control Shift P based on your configuration, or actually based on if you're using a Mac or a PC. I'm going to paste in the Git repository. It asks you where you want to stick this guy. Let's stick it here, and we will click open. So now I've got everything here. If I click expansion indicator, I've got the dashboard viewer. Remember, we said stick dashboard here. I've got the code behind. I've got my routing. Let's see, what else did we do here? If we go to the dashboards page and we go to the TypeScript, remember that we were using a web service. So we actually created the service in the services folder here. And this is going out and getting that object for me. So basically, best practices, solid Angular code. So let's do a new terminal. I'm going to do npm install because that takes a minute. And while that's going on, we're going to start adding the stuff to light this up with Reveal. So the first thing that you want to do is go to your index.html. Now I'm using those code snippets, remember? So I'm going to do a Command Shift P again, and I'm going to configure what you want to do is type in snippets and configure user snippets. So you can create a new global snippets file and for the first time, and then give it a name, which is what I did, reveal.code snippets. And then these reveal.code snippets are all in your GitHub. So I'm going to be using these code snippets. And the nice thing is, because I'm synchronized, all of my computers have these code snippets. So if I whipped open my Mac or another PC, or if I'm at Brian's house in Boise and I'm like, hey, let's go get these things. And, I just log in and it's all there. So, but that's just in case you've never used snippets before. I'm a big believer in snippets during webinars and demos. So let's go back to index.html. And there's a few things that we're going to add here. And all of the snippets are triggered by typing reveal. And then you can see here, we get a nice list of these snippets. So the first thing that I want to do in the head section is add a CSS reference to Quill.js, which is something that we use for one of the editors inside of Reveal. And then the other thing that I need to add is some JavaScript dependency links. Today, we use jQuery. jQuery's days are numbered. We use it for one thing and one thing only. Brian is on a mission to remove jQuery. And he told me this morning, by December, jQuery will be done with this, with Reveal, so you don't have to worry about it. You'll see we use the $ selector, and that's sort of legacy, but it's going to go away pretty soon. And then the other thing that's kind of important here is that we added more recently the Reveal client library to our global CDN, which means you don't have to install anything or have it locally. So dl.reveal.bi, this is the secret sauce. Without infragistics.reveal.js, nothing works. That is the client SDK. The server SDK is up in NuGet or a Java distribution package or Node.js. Now, the other thing that we just did, and I didn't update my code snippets, is we just released Reveal version 1.2.0 the other day. So I'm going to update that. And basically now I'm going to be using the latest and the greatest. Now that my npm install is done, I'm going to go ahead and do an ng serve just so this guy can start running. And the reason is, as you know, if you've ever done Angular, this stuff it's kind of annoying. It takes a minute or two, and I just want to kind of get this moving. So then the next thing that we want to do is start adding different capabilities from linking pages together and whatnot. Now, if you're familiar with Angular, you've got the app routing module TS. And what we want to do is in our dashboard viewer, we're going to be on the dashboards page, right? So the dashboards page listed all those big card views that I was linking to the dashboard viewer. And what we need to do here is, and in fact, this kind of just popped up, we need to tell it to go from here to here with the correct dashboard name. So stick dashboard here. We're going to get to all this in a second, but you can see that this is my pixel perfect app. And I'm just going to leave it running because every time I make a change in Angular, it just updates and will compile. So what I want to do is pass this the route, and that route is going to be the ID. And you're going to see how all this comes together in a minute. So how does that route work? Let's go to dashboards component.html. I'm not going to do anything in the code behind for this because all we're really doing there is loading the dashboards. But in the HTML page, what I want to do is in this card view, which is where we did our data binding. So remember, we added the image URL, we added the title, the date added, the thumbnail URL. All of this is using Angular data binding. Well, I want to use the title to pass to the dashboard viewer. So I'm going to do a Control-C. And I am going to stick this right here at the router link. And we are going to trap this on the dashboard viewer page. So you can see here, this just keeps kind of compiling successfully. So if we go back and we go back, it still works. But the big thing is that we've got the router link here. So it's looking for these particular dashboards. So things are probably starting to come together in your head. So then how do we load those up? Well, what I'm going to do is the first thing is where I said stick dashboard here, we need to add a div, and that div is where we're going to render the dashboard. So how do we do that div? We want to use our code snippets. So if I insert this, we're going to have something called reveal a view. And then to make sure that it fits nicely, because I added some stuff up here, I'm going to modify this to say like 100 of the vertical height minus 40 pixels. I want you to fill up that amount of space and then give me a width of 100, and we're ready to rock and roll. So this is all I got to do here. Now everything else happens in the code behind. So this is where things, really, it's where all the exciting stuff happens. So the first thing I want to do is, because we need to use the $ to make sure that we can get our components, I'm going to say, let the $ be any, and I'm going to implement an after view init to make sure that after the view is initialized, we want to execute this code, which is then going to load up our dashboard. And then you're going to see a bunch of red squigglies. We're going to fix those as we go along. So the next thing that we want to do is, if you're familiar with Angular, you know that in order to reference something in HTML, like a native object, you use the @viewChild command. So I'm going to say @viewChild, use the native element, and you'll see here we got some problems, and all of these are just updating the import. So if you select these guys and you do the quick fix, the imports will be updated for you. And then the next thing that we want to do is, because we are passing a route, we have to tell this page to use Angular routing. And so that's where you say the activated route constructor is kind of important here. So without that, your app will work, but you're not going to be getting the correct route trapped by this page. And then you can see that ng after view init is not, declared here. So what I want to do is I want to add the ng after view init code. And we're going to do a couple things here, and this is going to walk you through how this whole deal is going to work. But what I have set up on the server is already a Reveal server. We're going to do a local one in a second, but in order for you to get started where you don't have to install anything, just use our server. And you've got dashboards up there. All the dashboards that I'm showing today are going to be up there. Now, the other thing is, we have 2 versions of our data visualizations in the Reveal SDK, and we're slowly releasing the newer ones. And as a customer, you have an option to use the old ones or the new ones. I love the new ones. They're not ready for prime time yet, but we'll probably release them sometime in Q4. And you'll see there's a little bit of nice difference there. We've got this thing to make sure that the fonts are loaded correctly. We use a special Roboto font. And then I'm going to hard code sales, and we'll get to that in a second. So let's go back here. And actually, let's go back, and I'm going to refresh. That screen was already up, but let me click this guy. And then, like magic, you can see that our dashboard, it has rendered. Now, this is the sales dashboard that we have up in the cloud. Now, with the Reveal SDK, you get more than just rendering a dashboard. You get global filters and then built-in filters on every visualization, and you can wire those up when you design it. You get things like time series forecasting, linear regression. You can detect outliers. You do a detect outlier, and then you get like yellow dots on the high and the low points. You can change the type of visualization just from here. But even better, you can go right into edit mode. And what you get is a full WYSIWYG experience that lets you build charts. And then you can save this, and it gets persisted, and there's no code to do any of this. And then, of course, if I don't like blue, let's do orange. I like that a little bit better. Check the box, minimize it, and there we go. And then I'm going to save this guy, and that's what it looks like. So what I want to do, though, is if we go back here, these are all unique different dashboards. And of course, I click them, and I want to make sure I load the right one from my parameter. So how do we do that? So within my ng after view init code, what I want to do is trap that route parameter. And I'm going to do this sort of, I guess it's an okay way. In my code snippets, there's a better way to do it. But the point is, what I'm trying to get at is, how do you get the route and how do you actually use it? This is a legacy line of code. I'm going to delete it. And then, what you really want to do is make sure this isn't null. So, all these things kind of tie into other code snippets, but I'm not going to use those today. But I've got this ID. So let ID equals route.snapshot.parameter get. I'm getting the ID parameter. What is the ID parameter? The ID parameter is whatever the heck we passed it in the dashboard viewer, which, as you know, if we go to dashboard component.html, is the item.title. So that's how all this stuff ties together. It's very, very simple. So I'm just going to get rid of sales here, and I'm just going to say ID, and that's it. Now let's go back to our page and let's refresh. We'll go back and let's do healthcare. Now I've got the healthcare dashboard, which of course looks different than the sales dashboard. Here's my campaigns dashboard. So all of this is coming together nicely. But does anyone notice something kind of out of whack? Like, this is very bright compared to the rest of my application. All my users love dark mode. So let's go ahead and go back to our code, and let's inject some of that theming code that I showed you up in GitHub. So I'm going to add the reveal dark theme. So I want to do a new mountain dark theme. And all we do is tell the SDK settings to use this theme that I created. So now if I look at this and I look at a dashboard, here's our dark theme. The problem is it's still not the same color as my background. So you'll notice I had a couple line items commented out. Let's go ahead and do this guy. Let's do this guy. And those are actually like darker colors. And let's bring it back up again. And like magic, all of my dashboards look beautiful. They are using a dark theme. It's my custom branding. It's what we want to do with this product. And everything looks really, really good. So with that, we've created a beautiful looking application, pixel perfect code from App Builder. We've pulled that into to GitHub. Then we moved it over to Visual Studio Code. We use some of our handy code snippets that are all available up on GitHub to just add, whatever this is, 15 lines of code to light up an application with dynamically created dashboards. Now, the last thing I'm going to do, and I know we're out of time, but if you'll indulge me for 5 more minutes, I want to change this to use a local server. So let's go ahead and open up Visual Studio. Visual Studio. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new web API app. So I'm going to do new project. I'm going to do an ASP.NET Core web API, and we'll call it Web Application 3 is perfectly fine. And the big thing here is I want to enable open API support, and I want to use minimal APIs, but we'll leave controllers there. It's not a big deal. So what we do now is we go off and we create our own server. Remember, I said that cloud is set up for you, but you're building your own stuff. So you want to be able to know that I can, host this on my server, my local host, my cloud, because you can deploy this anywhere and use your own dashboard. So let's go ahead and type in Reveal BI. And I'm going to use the ASP.NET Core trial. I'm going to click Install and click OK. And I accept. Now, the only thing that you're really required to do here is to tell this application to use Reveal. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to say using, and then you're going to say, please use the reveal.sdk. So now that I'm using the Reveal SDK, that's fine, but I need to use the builder.services to build out my configuration. So I'm going to say add Reveal like so, and that's it. You're done. The server is created. The only thing we're missing is some dashboards. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder called dashboards. And this is important because everything is semantically named. So when the client is actually looking for a folder called dashboards, and I'm going to right click, I'm going to add existing items. And I happen to have all my dashboards here that we used before in the cloud. So they're all there. And then the last thing that I need to do is I need to, because we're going to run this with localhost, I need to allow cores for my local host stuff. So I'm going to create a policy that allows those headers, and I'm going to tell it to use it if we are in the development environment. So that's it. I'm going to hit run. And because we said to use Swagger, what this is going to do is it's going to use that or give us that auto-generated Swagger page. So let me grab it from over here, and we've got to get an HTTP GET. So let's go ahead and get the marketing dashboard, and I'll click execute. And you can see that this is the marketing dashboard. So I am going to change, or I'm not going to change anything just yet. I'm going to copy localhost 7118, and I'm going to paste this into my VS Code right here. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. And so now it's looking at that local host. And that's all I need to do. Let's go back to our page. We'll refresh just, for the heck of it, and go here. And when I click this guy, my dashboards all come up. They're just coming up from my own Reveal server. So that's how all of this ties together. So not only did we build the app and we lit it up with the Reveal client, we also created a server now, which then you would have your own dashboards, which is, we've done other webinars on how to create your own dashboards. And then you would host this on Azure, your own cloud. It doesn't really matter. So with that, let's wrap this up. I want to thank everyone for coming today. We really think you should look at Reveal to drive more revenue with embedded analytics. You get increased productivity, better decision-making, competitive advantage, increased revenue. And then with App Builder, get back 80% of your dev time. We've done the studies. We've talked to customers. We've got the research. We've got the surveys. App Builder will save you 80% of your dev time because it is a WYSIWYG screen builder for the web, which really doesn't exist anywhere. So we know that HTML and CSS and layout are very difficult for developers, especially coming from rich client, especially if you're not like a super experienced web guy. And so App Builder alleviates all that pain for you. We generate Angular and Blazor code, and we kind of take care of all of that hard work. So give us a look at revealbi.io or infragistics.com/products/app builder, or give Casey or myself an email, and we can do a deep dive demo or continue the conversation however you'd like. So I want to thank everyone again. I really appreciate your time today. I know it's very valuable, and we'll see you at the next webinar.